your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello everybody, my name is Brian Engelman, and I would like to welcome you to another episode of Agree to Disagree here on the TNAM radio network here on thenewamericanmedia.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Subscribe, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia, and let the advertisements play because it throws a couple pennies into our wishing well. Also, leave comments. We got 4.5, almost 5 years of content. We've had a lot of great shows over the years. Just covered a music convention. We got a lot of product reviews and different videos from over there. A lot of good stuff coming up. One of the things we did, we being Blake Walley and myself, Blake is going to be our guest today. We went out to Bundy Ranch about 1.5 years, almost 2 years ago. And we interviewed people because we saw this video from a guy named Pete Santilli. Pete Santilli, a guy that does a radio show, he does his TV show kind of thing. And it was called Ranch, what was it, Border Ranch Riot or Bundy Ranch Riot? And it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough stuff. It was like Bureau of Land Management people, and they were like sicking dogs and pregnant women and tasing people, and they were driving bulldozers through the property because they were taking cattle, killing them and just digging a hole in the ground and throwing them in there and shooting from helicopters, and things got real intense out at Bundy Ranch a couple years ago. But Pete Santilli is among those that have been arrested. One man is dead in that Oregon standoff. So we're going to bring Blake in to kind of talk about what's going on in this case. Also maybe briefly cover the fact that Donald Trump has bowed out of this debate, what that may or may not mean for his potential candidacy on the RNC side of things. We'll see how that goes, but check out our homepage at thenewamericanmedia.com. On the right-hand side is the TNAM radio button. That's where you click play to listen live. Underneath that is our Facebook feed, or you can do a search, The New American Media. And on Twitter, we're at American_media_. We're also on Instagram and Periscope. You should link up with us over there because we're going to be doing more this year on those platforms. So make sure you have checked that out, and so grateful that you're here with us today. So without further delay, let's get Mr. Blake Walley into the program. His Skype picture is awesome.
Greetings.
Greetings. What does your shirt say in your picture here? What is that? Buy the ticket, something the ride. What is that?
Buy the ticket, take the ride.
What is that from?
It is from Hunter S. Thompson. It's from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Buy the ticket, take the ride. Yeah, I just pressed the button to call you, and then it came up. You're giving me like the Fonzie. You're like, hey, 2 thumbs up with that shirt on. But anyway, Blake, thanks for joining us. Everybody on Twitter, if you're not following him, you need to. He's at eccentric99. Blake is getting ready to hit the open trail, and hopefully his journey will end up better than that of Ammon Bundy and the Klan who got, sorry, not Klan. I don't want to use that word because some people do regarding Trump and the people out in Oregon. But yeah, hopefully Blake fares a little bit better than Bundy and his crew did. So Blake, you've been following this. I kind of briefly summarized that we went out and saw that video from Pete Santilli, and there was always a question: how did Pete get there before this happened? That's been something that's always been on my mind. How did he know to get there and get? Maybe he was on the scene first and he smelled a story before most people. But anyway, Pete was out there and we went and interviewed him, and now he's among those arrested. So that's basically about all I had to say on it. So if you want to set up what happened at Bundy Ranch and then bring it over to what happened in Oregon and then what happened today with 8 arrests and 1 dead, Pete Santilli being among those arrested, I'll let you kind of start it off.
Well, where to begin? I guess we're going back a little farther. Yeah, Pete Santilli was there before just about anybody else. I know that they had back when the Bundy Ranch, when that first story was happening. Yeah, they were the local government here in Nevada was booting chasing the ranchers off the land, it seemed, and with the BLM. And they were going after them for grazing rights, which he hadn't paid for a long time because it's pretty much government extortion. He had a cattle ranch for well over 100 years, and all of a sudden, the federal government takes over and says that cattle can't graze, or you gotta pay your what is that? What do they call that in the mafia? You gotta pay your
well, I was gonna say grazing fees, but in the not hush money, greasing the palms, protection money, sure, yeah,
kinda, yeah. So
they made him an offer. They made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Right, and so they basically, I guess, did make offers or some kind to the rest of the ranchers and chased them all out of there. And he was the last one standing, and he stood up. And the BLM, I guess, and whatever government goons came over, and they were aiming, sniper rifles on the family and whatnot. And then Pete Santilli shows up and then catches this amazing video of the BLM coming to assault the Ammon Bundy with the tasers, and that kind of was the spark that sort of created this big movement. And then next thing you know, you had patriots all across the country going to was it Bunkerville up by Mesquite there in Vegas, and including of course you and I, Brian, to go cover that.
Yeah. What an experience that was.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. So, and then it seemed like there was a huge victory. The government was forced to back off, give him back his cattle after they, terrorized the cattle with helicopters and whatnot. But anyway, so then it would seem kind of fairly quiet. There was a little bit of a security presence there, militia protection, just to make sure that the BLM didn't show up as soon as everybody left. And everything was fairly quiet, and then all of a sudden, Ammon Bundy, when it was tased in the first exchange, all of a sudden went up to Oregon to go protest more kind of BLM shenanigans, going after a family, I think it's the father and son, who allegedly were improperly burning, or a fire got out of control, and they called it arson and put them in jail for a really long time. And they went up and kind of got involved in that, even though it wasn't really endorsed. But they ended up taking over a federal building during the holidays, and they're armed, but it wasn't like an armed hostile takeover. But they took over to prove a point, and there's been kind of a standoff of sorts going on. And supposedly there's always suspicion that it was kind of crawling with provocateurs, or they were trying to set up the Patriot movement or something like that.
Define provocateurs for the newbies.
Like they're people that cause trouble. They're people that are like, say, in the federal government or FBI, feds, whatever, that infiltrate Patriot groups and pretend to just be involved, and they kind of give them a bad name or try to set them up or get them to do something stupid and force a response. So, so you've got people that are, allegedly, nothing's proven yet, but there's some very suspicious characters. Posing as the Patriots, but they might be undercover feds. So just trying to set them up or whatever. And then, Pete Santilli has kind of that's been for the last few years, has really been suspected of being an informant. I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, we did go interview him. He took that great video. He's done some good work. He's kind of a loose cannon sometimes. He's an interesting character. I used to listen to his show back in the day for a while, but he's done some things that have upset me. But even though he seemed like a reasonable guy when we met him, and that was cool. But and of course he was arrested, and I think he's on watch right now to see if he's going to be released, because maybe he was part of it from the get-go. And he was, of course, went there right away. I don't know, and I don't even know where he's at. I thought he was in California, but it seems like everyone's saying he's from Cincinnati. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
Cincinnati was that was my understanding.
Yeah, so I don't know how he keeps found his way all the way to Oregon again. And yeah, so who knows? But yeah, so where are we at? So everything was pretty quiet. They took over this building, and then
Yeah, it's been like three weeks they've been up there, and I mean, they're in a place in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Oh, they're armed. Well, every American should be armed. All right, so, call me crazy. We have a Second Amendment. Everybody should have a firearm. I just posted a video today about a guy who was at a Subway and two people walked in and they had weapons and they were trying to rob the place, and he pulls out his concealed carry and he shoots him and kills one of the guys and arrests the other. It's just like bad things can happen anywhere at any time. That's why every American should be armed all the time, as much as humanly possible. So like, oh well, they're up there and they're armed. Well, yeah, they're armed. Have they shot anybody? Did they break any windows? Did they light any buildings on fire? Did they take any pot shots at cops? Are they throwing Molotov cocktails? You can look at Ferguson and Baltimore and this, that, and the other. And it kind of turned into like this anti-Ferguson, anti-Baltimore thing where it turned into a racial thing. It was like you saw a lot of, I don't know, you just saw a lot of people saying, haha, that you should go kill them and this and that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess... Would you say threats were made in this process? It's such a weird story, Blake. I followed it like on the peripheral, kind of waiting to see where it developed. I mean,
No.
what were the worst things they were doing up there? What was the worst that they were doing?
Okay, well, yeah, it was, like I said, it was not a hostile takeover or anything like that. It wasn't like they were, infiltrated and took hostages or anything like that. It was, and they basically said that they were, willing to die if they have to in order to, just to stay there and make their point. So I guess that's about as, violent as God, as hey, we're here, and if you try to do something, we'll fight back.
Right. But, I just scrolling through our news feed here, somebody that I think we're going to have on soon. I think we were supposed to maybe 2 years ago, and then last year, who knows, whatever the booking or the scheduling thing is, Carrie Wedler. And she posted, I think she works with Justin King, who we had on the show, former military contractor. We talked about bugging out and prepping tips in a show a couple weeks ago. But Justin shared this post from Carrie, and it says, if you are a liberal cheering death at the Oregon standoff, you are not concerned with peace or justice. You are championing initiatory state-sanctioned violence. And let's be real, you love guns, just not in the hands of your fellow citizens. And so that's an interesting take on it as well. So,
yeah, she's a good character.
Hopefully we'll have a more have a conversation with her, bring her on for a full program. But basically, then the guys were up there for about 3 weeks or so, this, that, and the other, and kind of give us the highlights yesterday. They left the facility and they were going to a town hall meeting, and they were stopped in a air quote routine traffic stop. And there's conflicting reports as to how one of the men were killed. What do you know about it?
From what I can gather, there was negotiations going on. Obviously, the federal government and the sheriffs and they don't want this. They want the standoff to end, and so it's routine to sit down and have some negotiations. And that's what I understood, is that they were going to go and speak to the sheriff and whoever. And just, everybody just sit down and have a talk and decide what they're going to do. And, there was no routine traffic stop or anything like that. What it looked like is that they ran right into an ambush and a roadblock. So, the government cracked down. So, and they might have really made a huge mistake, as somebody was killed, and there are conflicting reports on what actually happened. But I've heard a few of the interviews, and I think it's pretty clear to me so far what seems more believable in this instance. And the federal government has got a lot of explaining to do for the murder of this man who was who did not fit the profile of some radical nut. Even though he had written a book, I'm not sure just talking about freedom and such. Or I shouldn't even go there because I'm not 100% on that. But he was a pretty mild-mannered guy. Just kind of gotten involved in everything after the Bundy thing kind of inspired him. But I think he was 55 years old. He had 11 kids, and he was like a foster dad. Helped like 50 young boys or something. I mean, he was, a great citizen, and he was helping and trying to, do what he thought was right because, ranchers, especially out west with the BLM, are really having trouble. They're really, the federal government is taking over, all the land out here, and it's like they have their voices are pretty quiet, and people in the city they're not going to hear what's really going on. And so, these guys got together and they thought they were getting together for the right cause and in their hearts, and they wanted people to join them. But, the whole thing just didn't quite seem like it was, it was nothing like the first Bundy rebellion. And so it just never really gained that much traction. And it was just kind of, just sitting there for a while to see what happens. But it had no excuse to end in violence. And this is looking right now. It's looking very, very bad for the government for what they pulled here, because this is not the way you get things done. So that's why it's extremely interesting.
Well, what would you say? Some people said some of these guys had criminal records. Some of them have threatened to go out in a blaze of glory. They're not going to get arrested. They're not going back to jail. And that, and you heard conflicting reports. Some people saying, "Oh, he was shot. He was on his knees with his hands behind on his head, and he was executed." Similar to the thing you heard about Michael Brown in the beginning. And it's like anytime these things happen, it's like, all right, let's slow down and get the correct information here. Who was there? Who witnessed what occurred? What is the story? And I'm hearing some things. I know Ford Fisher's really covering this story a lot. He's one of our correspondents for the New American Media, but he's also with News to Share. And, there's some videos that are going around saying that he was executed, and then there's conflicting reports saying, no, he did this, he did that, he fled the scene, he did that, and then he charged the officers. You're hearing a lot of different stories. What's the closest to what you think is actually happening here versus some of the more wild accusations that you've heard, Blake? How can we sort this all out?
I'll give you two, and one is from Raw Story and one is from InfoWars. Now, Raw Story is notoriously left-wing, very progressive, have a very slanted view of the way they present their news, which is fine. But we'll call it like it is, and see what it leads to. And I'll tell you why they're wrong. And I even made a comment on their board and about that, and I didn't really get much pushback on it. In fact, I had people agreeing with me about it because both of these headlines. I'll give you the headline from Raw Story. It says, "Eyewitnesses knock down conspiracy theories about Lavoy Finicum," that's the guy's name, "dying on his knees." And then, of course, from InfoWars, you can say what you want, more of a libertarian site. They say, "Eyewitness, Oregon militiaman murdered by cops, and he had his hands in the air." Now, with the Raw Story one, they've got two interviews here. Was it two? They got three videos, two guys, Melvin Lee and Mark McConnell, describing what went down. The problem with the Raw Story version is that although they claim that these are eyewitnesses and they're knocking down the conspiracy theories, both of these men were not in the same car with the man with the victim. So now we go back to our beginning.
If he's not in the car, where was he? Because I've seen that story going around, and we're all trying to make sense of this. Okay, so he was there on the scene, but he was in another car. Yeah,
he's like he heard about it, but didn't actually see it. And then we kind of come full circle to this idea that, because these guys were, they were released, they weren't arrested, and then they were released, and then they both put out YouTube videos of their accounts, but neither of them actually saw it. They were both released, and then so now you start to think, well, maybe these guys are, fit the profile of those FBI type informants, because it seems like there was 8 people arrested. Well, how come if these guys were there, why didn't why didn't they get arrested? And then why are they claiming to say something or know what happened when they didn't actually see it? Now, from the InfoWars article, this the lady, let me see her name, and I took a few notes on the interview, is Victoria Sharp. She was actually in the car with Lavoy Finicum. And I had a little bit of a problem with her testimony just because it was a little off, but people need to go check that out. You can find it on the InfoWars, and I've also, or the YouTube, I suppose. It's called "Was Lavoy Finicum Shot with His Hands in the Air?" Eyewitness audio. Of course, his daughter, his daughter didn't actually witness it, but anyway. You've got another assemblywoman, Michelle Fiore, out here in Nevada. I also had a tweet from her saying that he was murdered with his hands up in Burns, Oregon. Ryan Bundy has been shot in the arm. I think that later turned out to be some sort of shrapnel or something. He was sent to the hospital for minor injury and released. But so I guess we kind of got to go by that. Do you say the two guys who didn't actually witness it from Ross' story? Or do you believe the lady who sounds totally panicked, totally freaked out, and desperately telling her story to the person who was interviewing her? I'm not exactly sure who that was in this YouTube video, but yeah, she gives a pretty. It'll freak you out a bit about what really what happened. And she was saying that they just basically. I mean, all the testimonies, they all agree that they basically, walked into an ambush. And then Victoria Sharp, who was in the car with Lavoy, was saying that they had lasers all over them. And they were firing probably over 100 rounds. She said about 120 rounds.
Yeah, that's what I heard, around 100.
Yeah. Even though the official, I think, story said that they only fired like 3 shots or something like that. So that's going to be also a part that the government's going to have a hard time. They got to present the evidence. They got to show either video, or they got to show the car with the bullets in it, so we actually know how many shots were fired and all that. What really went down. But according to this testimony, I guess which is kind of hard to find, which is a little bit hard to follow. So they get kind of pulled over, and they want to negotiate and just say, hey, we're just on our way to this meeting. And
in all fairness, though, they kind of lost the right to move around with impunity after going through all of this. It's not like, well, we just want to go to a meeting. It's like, I don't care what you want to do. You guys have been stirring some stuff up here for a while now. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Like, but, I would be tagging them too. I would have the potential for roadblock at any moment. The question, I don't know. I mean, the question for me comes down to why were the shots fired?
Roadblock, but you can't, just put snipers in the trees and have lasers and just bullets just flying from all different directions.
Well, the report was that a shot was fired, and they're not sure where it came from. I haven't heard anything from the people that got arrested, including Pete Santilli, who's there as a journalist.
As far as I know, no shots were fired from any of the Bundy or any of the Patriot people, any of the militia people. No shots were fired. They were set up. They were ambushed. They had snipers in the trees. They had laser scopes on everybody, and and then this man Lavoy Finicum, who is mild-mannered, who has said he's not going to go to jail or anything like that. They're going to have to, almost going to have to kill him. But even though he doesn't seem, he's not. I want to say he comes off like that, like he's a violent person or anything. No, he's a nice old man. He's just sick of the government overreach, and he's gonna make his voice heard and make his point. So, but I don't think nobody knew that he was just gonna get shot like this. So yeah, apparently they got out and were trying to say, hey, and all of a sudden there was a shot fired or whatever, and then Lavoy, I guess he was driving, he took off, and then as he saw the roadblock, he crashed into the snowbank, and then he got out of the car and was he was just walking with his hands up, and he was just like, "Hey, is this what you want? You didn't just shoot me." And well, they did.
Huh.
And because you just don't think, it's like, really, you're gonna ambush you, you're gonna do the shot fired, and okay, so you got nowhere to go, and then you're just like, okay, well, what are you guys gonna do? Are you guys really gonna shoot us? And yeah, they were there to do something, and they deliberately set it up in an area where there was like no, phone service, wooded area. And yeah, they shot him. Apparently, not only did they shoot him there, they shot him, I think she said, kind of conflicting. She said 3 times, and I heard 6 times. So I'm not exactly sure, but they shot him while he was on the ground. And then they, of course, riddled his car with bullets. And while they were in the car, they were looking to find something white, like like a flag to, just wave surrender. Yeah, she's claiming 120 shots altogether, and it was about a 5 to 10 minute shootout.
But if there's 120 shots, how did only one person die, and one person got ricochet, and one person got like that? That's 3 hits.
I guess it was a tough angle from where the car was, and they could only shoot so far, or shoot at the right spot. Or
well, I mean, it's I have a lot of unanswered questions, including I've been hearing reports that ABC News has a video for some reason. Were they on the scene at the time?
That's unknown. I don't know. So that's the thing, is that we need to find out what's going on. Where's the video, and where is the car? So who's telling the truth here?
Now, do they have body cameras in this police force?
Probably not. I think that they this ambush. I don't. The way this sounds like this is set up is that they wanted to control the narrative here. So, but fortunately, only one person was killed, and they didn't just kill everybody and say that they were in self-defense or something like that, or something ridiculous. But that would have been hard to pull off anyway, because they set up the roadblock to begin with.
So where do we go from here then, as we try to further gather some more information about this? Obviously, just a little over a day since this happened, we don't have all the details. And guess what, Ferguson? Guess what, Baltimore? I'm not going to go bananas about this right now because I don't know what happened yet. I'm trying to figure it out. It just bugs me when people burn cities and attack police and make all these claims without having information. I want to get information. Now, the information that I am getting is that there has been an order to evacuate the building, that there may be a siege coming very soon. Once again, conflicting reports, maybe rumors of war, who knows, but I've heard all the journalists, they specifically told the journalists to get out of there, and it sounds like they're going to make a final storm on this place. What do we know about how the rest of this is going to pan out? Do we have any hint or any piece of information or pieces of information that can lead us to how we think because there's still people inside of this building, as if this building's important or of crucial need, and you can't just turn off the power and wait them out till it gets cold or something.
Yeah, they got all the roads blocked. So there's nothing going in. So
yeah, so
lines are cut.
Well, what do we look for moving forward? I want to see some dash cam video. I want to see some body cam video. I want to hear from the witnesses. But specifically about the people that are still there. What should we anticipate? How do you see this playing out? If you had to get your crystal ball.
I haven't been able to dig yet, but I did hear also that they were trying to get the media out of there. And then going from there, I heard that when you go back to Waco, that was when everything went down, is when they told the media to get out of there. All of a sudden, I was like, okay, well, there's no one here to watch us, so now, oh, looks like, somebody attacked us. Now we're just going to have to, set the buildings on fire. I mean, it's been a while. So
I think if I recall correctly, and this was probably in one of our early conversations, but I recall talking with John B. Wells, and I think he said that it was Waco that kind of set him on this path. It was something about he saw the original footage, which is different from the footage that you have today, that it's been edited. And it was just a big wake-up call of, wow, look what they just did to all of those people. There was really no other option than to set that building on fire and kill all those kids in the basement. everything that happened there.
Oh, of course not. No, they could have gotten Koresh any time. So it was totally unnecessary and a total overreach. And yeah, it didn't work out too well. So obviously, so that's what people are worried about. That's what I did see. I don't have any articles in front of me about that, but
Yeah.
I did see that. It was like, oh, okay. Well, if that's what happened in Waco. As soon as the press goes, then boom, that's when the siege happens.
You know, and in a way, I that's why you and I went out to the Bundy Ranch, a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, is because sometimes
that was for a great cause.
Well,
Right.
sometimes the only thing that keeps the peace is shining the light on it. You know, if there are enough people there watching, you know, that standoff at the very end when they went and got their cattle back. I mean, people were pointing guns at each other. That picture of the man on the overpass aiming at BLM and BLM all aiming at most of the people that did not have their hands on any weapons. That was one mistake away from a bloodbath. You know, one person with an itchy trigger finger and then all hell breaks loose. You know, and that's part of the reason why we went there, was to cover it so that calmer heads would prevail, you know, so that it didn't have to devolve into that. And, you know, I guess we'll just keep our eyes peeled on Burns, Oregon, see where this goes. I really want to get some more information. But if Mike Brown, that whole hands up, don't shoot thing never happened. But people wanted what was the quote Larry Elder told me? He said, Republicans believe what they see, and Democrats see what they believe. So, you know, if you're looking for racism everywhere, and if you heard somebody say that this kid had his hands up and said don't shoot and he was blown to pieces, if you want to believe that's your truth, hey, there's a lot of people that did, and there was no forensic evidence, there was no eyewitness evidence, nothing lined up with that being even remotely true. So I'm gonna stop short on this and stop short of coming to any final conclusions, because the investigation is early. But I'm demanding that all of the surveillance footage from the police cameras on the dash cams, any body camera footage, that's our footage. We need to see that, and we need to see what happened there, and hopefully we don't need to see any more bloodshed at that facility. So I just wanted to touch on Donald Trump real quick, and we'll let you get going. But did you have any final thoughts that we didn't have a chance to get to on this standoff, shootout, or mass arrest?
Still waiting just to see what happens, and then to see what happens with Santilli, or when they're going to release these people and get some more testimony, and like you said, and get the videos, and we'll see where it goes from there.
I mean, they're facing like 20 years, all of them, aren't they?
I don't know exactly yet. It seemed like the charges were a little bit. I don't know exactly how that goes.
What was it? Impeding a federal investigation or something along those lines? Like that. Okay. Yeah, I am eager to get more information. So if anybody gets some stuff, please feel free to tag us at American_media_ or to paste it directly onto our Facebook page, The New American Media. So wrapping this up here, Blake, and thanks for joining us again today. But, you know, Donald Trump made some waves. He's not participating in the GOP debate. There's a lot of different opinions on this. What's your take?
I'm really upset about it. I'm really disappointed. I'm trying to warm up to Trump, and trying to keep him in mind as a serious possibility to go in there, and then he pulls this stunt, and then he just seems like it's so unbelievably childish that I don't have good things. I don't know what to say about it. I'm very disappointed, and I'm starting to question whether he's going to be. If he's presidential material or not. This is ridiculous. And he just keeps digging himself into a hole. He was just doubling down when he should just, back off, apologize, let it go. That's my opinion on this, so far, about that he's dropping out, and he's, he tried to get, because of Megyn Kelly from 6 months ago, asked him what I thought was a reasonably tough, but a fair question, and he didn't handle it right. That's fine. But then he just kept, digging himself into a hole, just is saying horrible things about her, trashing her all over the place, and then just saying that she had blood coming out of her nose or her eyes or whatever, and it just kept escalating from there, and he just relentlessly trolling her on Twitter, just trying to go after her, trash her, and then months go by, and I think we finally kind of started to get past this stupid thing. But of course, the next debate is going to be hosted by Fox, and she's going to be one of the moderators again. And apparently he tried to have her removed, and then they said, no, we're not removing her. And then he just said, nope, I'm not going to be in the debate then. And it's like, really? You're that? You're really going to be that much of a baby? And then he's going after her again, saying, she's nobody, and nobody ever heard of her. And it's just stuff that's not even true. I'm not some big, huge Megyn Kelly fan, but she's a smart professional journalist. Not that I'm a big Fox guy or anything like that, but I mean, she's pretty damn good at what she does, and she doesn't deserve to be trashed like that, in my opinion. Not that I'm a fan of hers or anything, but I'm just saying that's unusual, and I don't like it, and I'm just surprised people are just and again, some of these Trump people that are just they're almost in a cult of sorts. I usually make fun of the Democrats for being in a cult, but it's a lot of people that'll do whatever Trump wants. And well, of course, he even just joked the other week about how he could, shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and people would still vote for him. And yeah, there's an article I saw where just hundreds of people are calling Megyn Kelly on Twitter the C word or the B word, bimbo, and not the other B word, and they're just going after her. And that's because and Trump's the one I think who's at fault here.
Well, yeah, it's interesting when you think about what he said just a couple of years ago. Yep. Take a listen to this one. This is Donald Trump with Megyn Kelly. This was from News to Share. Ford Fisher put this on the New American Media Facebook feed. And by the way, guys, seriously, if you are not linked up with us on Facebook, I'm telling you, we have some of the best coverage, the best contributors, the best stories. We have funny stuff, we have sports stuff, we have uplifting stuff, we have infuriating stuff, political stuff, everything in between. But this was on December. This was in December of 2011.
I think that you're a better moderator than I am.
No, I could never beat you. That wouldn't even be close. There would be no contest. You have done a great job, by the way, and I mean it.
Thank you. I'm glad we cleared that up.
Good.
You've done a great job, by the way. I mean it.
Yep.
Talking about debate moderation. It's...
No, I saw that in the media. I just had it right in front of me as soon as you pulled that up. And I was like, yep. And it's like, wait, you just praising her 5 years ago? And yeah, she was pretty damn good in the afternoon slot. And then all of a sudden they moved her to prime time. And then she was just, crushing Rachel Maddow. I mean,
come on. That's...
Well, yeah, easily. But I'm just saying that...
LeBron James was destroying that 7th grader. Well,
right.
Come on. I mean, Rachel Maddow. Well, I'll play devil's advocate because part of I see two sides of this thing, and I thought her coming right out of the gates like that was garbage. I didn't like it at all. I didn't care for it at all. And yes, at some point after the initial snapback and blah 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 and a couple of extra comments, the smart move is to let that go. And he's not playing it right. I don't like how he's continuing this, but to jump out of the gates, everybody's there to see what's going on with this, and for her to lead with that, if you want to put that somewhere in the middle as a fair,
I don't think it was out of bounds, and I think he was going to get hit with that at some point anyway.
I think it was totally out of bounds for the very first question to lead off that way. It was garbage. You want to set the... and that...
She said, you call women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals, and if Trump was fueling the war on women. And he, that's it. I mean, it's...
Oh, that's it? Everybody else gets a policy question? They're pulling for Jeb Bush at the time and giving him way more mic time than he deserved, that bumbling, stumbling oligarch fool. And now they're in the Marco Rubio camp. But, it just, for the people that say this is completely rigged, and I think you shared a video yesterday about the DNC debates being rigged. I didn't have a chance to see it, but I've seen that making the rounds. I got to investigate. But for the people that say this whole process is rigged, we don't get a chance to pick a leader. They're pre-selected for us. The one thing is obvious. They do, air quote, they do not want Donald Trump to become president. And for that reason alone, I think a lot of people are willing to give him a chance. But for every childish thing he does, Donald Trump does, it makes Ted Cruz look a lot more legitimate as an option. And it's kind of narrowing down to he's a little awkward. He's a little like Count Chocula. He's a little snobby. He's maybe a little too rehearsed, and his wife works at Goldman Sachs. Okay, are these really the biggest problems we're going to have with him compared to all of the potential baggage with Trump? I don't know. I've been kind of back and forth between these two as, two of the only people in this race that I'm considering.
Right. Yeah, I only see about 5, or maybe 4. I think I'm down to. I got about a list of 4.
Who are the other two? You got Rand Paul in there still?
Rand Paul, yeah, by a way ahead. And then you got Trump as a distant second, and then you probably got Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina as about the.
Fiorina.
And I don't even know about that. I mean, we're starting to really drop down. But even though I don't think she's a bad lady,
I feel like we're kind of dropping down anywhere we go. And someone asked me the other day, who do you like in the presidency? I said, hey, as long as Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush do not win. And for me, it's not about who I'm supporting. It's who I need to see lose. I do not want Hillary Clinton. I do not want Jeb Bush. No more oligarchs in charge of just out. Go away.
What about puppets run by oligarchs like Marco Rubio?
Yeah, the new establishment choice, it seems. Hey, you know what? Let's see what happens with Donald Trump. Let's see what he does. He's going to do a town hall or something, and he's going to put it on the air, and they're going to sell. They're going to find a way to monetize it and contribute to the Wounded Warriors. So, maybe it's a little bit like LeBron James leaving Cleveland. It's like, well, I did that for the Boys and Girls Club. Look how much money I raised. No, man, you spit in our face as Clevelanders, native Ohioans, native Clevelanders like myself. You spit in our face, and then you urinated on us, and then you laughed at us. And then you spit on us again, and you did a whole bunch of worse stuff on national TV. But LeBron kind of hid behind that. Well, I donated to the Boys and Girls Club. It was a good thing that I did. No, it was a terrible thing. So we'll see with the Trump thing if it turns out like, hey, look, he didn't give Rupert Murdoch any more money, and I'll bet you Donald Trump's event is going to draw more attention and higher ratings than the debate without him. And I'll bet you during the debate, all they're going to do is trash talk Donald Trump, which is going to only... I'm blown away and fascinated by this election. Maybe it's a stroke of genius. Maybe it's time to jump off of the Donald Trump bandwagon. I hope that's going to be your next article for the New American Media. What do you think? Is it time to... Because you wrote one a couple weeks ago. Is it time to jump on the Donald Trump bandwagon? I want to see, is it time to jump off the Trump bandwagon? Kind of as a counterpoint.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, I really hate the attacks on Ted Cruz. The stupid that was in the last debate when they're going back and forth. Like he was trying to try to get him out on some technicality that he's really born in Canada, and they got his lawyers on. That turned into just a stupid debacle, and there was just no reason to let it go. What do you care? You're way up in the polls. Why are you going after somebody for that?
Well, because he's gaining. He's gaining in momentum, and he's not going away. You've seen the Ben Carson flare-up, the Fiorina flare-up, like right in the beginning as she moved out of the kiddie table. You've seen a couple of people kind of start to climb up there, but it's turning into a 3-person race with Rubio being the establishment candidate and then Cruz and Trump. So, I mean, he's identified his 2 threats, and it seemed like they had a bit of a truce going on for a while, but, the gloves are off at this point. But we'll see. We'll see what Iowa thinks about it. Maybe they're going to take it as a big disrespect. And of course it's just one state, but it's all a big deal at this point. You only have 50 states, and by Super Tuesday, a lot of this is going to be wrapped up anyway. So, we'll see how it plays out. If Trump's able to outdraw the rest of the RNC debate and donate a boatload of money to the Wounded Warriors,
that's good. But I mean, I wish people would just not be in the cult of Trump. And it's just, you got to point out the good and the bad, and he can get away with certain things in the boardroom, but you can't pull that kind of stuff off. And the things that he's doing with Cruz and the things that he's doing with with Megyn Kelly, and then they're exposing the hypocrisy by playing that video clip on how he really used to like her, and it's just it's terrible, and just stuff that's not even true, and I can't go along with stuff like that. That's just the signs of a crazed egomaniac who thinks he controls reality, and that's not cool. But I mean, there's a part of me, of course, and I think I could relate to something that I think it was Tom DeLay said the other day, is that people want to see Trump win because they want to see somebody go into Washington and kick some ass. I don't know exactly how he put it. We're probably not that phrased like that, but you want to go see shake stuff up, and you like to see that he's anti-establishment, and the people are freaking out that he might take over, and the Republicans are freaking out, the Democrats are freaking out, and you just dude, just back off a little bit, apologize a little bit more, don't do this. Like you're better than that. He's a smart guy. He needs to keep composed a little bit better, and to follow this through. Of course, I'd like to see Rand Paul win, but if not, if Trump wants to go in as this American hero, and he's gonna really change America, that'd be cool. I could live with that. But very disappointing the last couple weeks.
We're gonna
ever since it's all been downhill since I wrote that article.
Well, then I think what's obvious, Blake, at least to me, is that it's time for you to write a new article saying is it time to jump off the Trump bandwagon. Jump off the Trump bandwagon. Well, you should write the article. I think you should, as a point counterpoint. Or maybe, all right, how about this then? We'll compromise. Let's wait and see how tomorrow plays out and see where we go from there. But it truly is fascinating. It's one of the more interesting, dynamic, and unpredictable elections that I've ever been a part of, as far as covering or paying attention to. So
this is going to be, one of the most amazing elections in our lifetime. One of the best in maybe American history. This is so important, and it's been quite the circus, and it's just it's gonna be exciting, and Trump has certainly made it exciting. That's for sure. It's been great that he's been in there, so we'll see what happens.
Well, hey,
that's the way. We haven't even hit Iowa yet, but it's almost there. We're going to know in about 4 or 5 days. What's get some real hard results, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, hey, in 30 seconds, Blake, tell people about what you're doing, what they should expect in the next couple weeks from you, and how to follow you.
The next couple weeks are going to be interesting. So I'm going to be, my life is going to be turned upside down, and I'm hoping to do a lot of full-time media work, and I'm looking forward to covering the election of 2016 and all the other crazy stories going on in the world. And you can follow me right now on Twitter as Eccentric99, and check out my website. If you want to go check out the time to jump on the Trump bandwagon, you can find that at eccentricperspective.com. Of course, or you can see it on Brian's website at the New American Media.com.
Heck yeah. Well, hey, man, thanks for joining us. We'll do this again. Like I said, we're going to do more shows. They're going to be a little bit quicker. And, man, there's just too much going on in the world. No time to shut our mouths. It's time to stand up and say what we're thinking. Blake, thanks so much for your time. And for everybody out there in the TNAM radio network, I want to thank you for listening. Check out our homepage at thenewamericanmedia.com. Subscribe, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. On Facebook, do a search for The New American Media with spaces in between. And then you can also link up with us on Twitter at American_media_. I appreciate you. I love you. We'll talk again soon. Peace.
Hi, everybody. You're listening to Agree to Disagree with Brian Engelman, and this is John B. Wells reminding you that not only is Brian Engelman a cool guy, and not only is the newamericanmedia.com a very cool platform, but here's a cool idea for you, too. Are you alone? Not really. Do you like dogs? Do you like cats? You do. Of course you do. Everybody does. One or the other, maybe even both. You know, there are a lot of dogs and cats that are at shelters right now, and if somebody doesn't take them home, they're going to wind up euthanized. That's a nice way of saying they're going to be killed, because there's simply not enough room. I guarantee it, the best dogs and the best cats, the best pets, come from shelters. There's something about dogs and cats. They know. They know where they are. You walk through one of them, and certainly at least one is going to look at you and go, I wish you'd take me home. I'm in hell. Please take me out of here. It'll be the best thing that you ever did for your soul. You'll feel good about it. And not only that, But you have a friend for life. Doesn't matter if you got money, you don't have money. What doesn't make any difference to a dog or cat. All they need is the sound of your voice and maybe even the stroke of your hand, and they're fine. Maybe a little food every once in a while. The sweetest sound that those pets ever hear is your voice. Think it over and adopt a cat or a dog from a local shelter today. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did.